How you doing? And I hope you had a fright fest last night with you and your kids or grandkids. So here we are the day after Halloween. I'm RJ Smith. This, of course, is Crazy News React, where I react to the nuttiest, craziest, most insane news from around the world. So without further ado, are you ready? Then let's go. With flu season right around the corner, maybe it's time we learned a little bit about cough medicine and how in the last few years it has proved quite deadly, especially for children. So come along with me as we investigate the ridiculous poisoning of children from around the world. Here we go.
Tonight, the FDA is warning of an increase in accidental child overdoses from prescription cough medicine. More than 4,600 got sick from the cough suppressant sold under the brand name Bestselling. At least 6 children died. The FDA says that these gel capsules can be mistaken for candy and they should be kept out of children's reach.
I cannot count times I have gotten the flu or the cold and even COVID a couple years ago. The first thing I want to do is go to the pharmacy and pick up whatever cold medicines I can to alleviate my symptoms. Never did I ever suspect that some cold medicines might just be poison and death could be right around the corner. Check out this story.
Josiah Tobias Vanellis, who was called Tobias, was almost 11 months old when his family received tragic news. On August 21st of 2022, Tobias was in the care of his grandmother, 53-year-old Tabina Lasant, when he became unresponsive.
My God, I would be freaking out if my child or grandchild died because of something I had given him. It's a very sad state of affairs. And since when do we criminalize mistakes by grandparents? I mean, come on, guys. You have to be cold-hearted to go after a grandmother after she just accidentally poisoned her own grandchild with cold medicine that nobody told her was no good. Let's continue, shall we?
Ultimately, the child was transported to Broward Health Medical Center, where he was tragically pronounced deceased.
Judging people with crimes based off of mistakes is one of the way the criminal justice system is wholly ruining people's lives. I can't even imagine what it would be like for me if I brought my grandchild to the emergency room and the child died. And if I found out it was cold medicine, I would be totally devastated. And then the state comes in and voila, you are charged with a felony, manslaughter? From a mistake? Oh boy.
In October of last year, an autopsy revealed Tobias had a lethal concentration of cyproheptadine in his system.
Cyproheptadine is legal with a doctor's prescription, and it is not approved for use in children under 2 years old.
Devil's advocate, okay? This spokesperson for Broward Sheriff's Office, which by the way is one of the most corrupt, violent organizations among police forces, I think anywhere in the country. But let's just assume that you give your child this cough medicine. How are you supposed to know that they are not approved to get a certain type of cold medicine? Who knows that? I wouldn't know it. Would you know it? If I went to the pharmacy and I saw, oh, child's cold flu medicine, I would get it. Right? How do we know that there's an ingredient in that particular medication that is going to kill our children? We don't. There's no way to know that. And for the Broward Sheriff's Office to assume this grandmother knew that, I think is reckless.
Earlier this year, the Food and Drug Administration put out this warning about apetamin, a product containing cyproheptadine that is being illegally imported into the U.S.
It is extremely important for the public to be aware that this product, without a doctor's prescription, should not be used.
This past summer, BSO tells us toxicology tests confirmed that 2 baby bottles found inside Lasant's Oakland Park home tested positive for cyproheptadine. According to detectives, the child's grandma was the only person to prepare Tobias's bottles while she was caring for him.
Explain this to me like I'm a 2-year-old, right? How horrible for this particular grandmother to be going through something like this. It just seems like a huge overreach by our legal system. It's kind of like when parents accidentally leave their kid inside a car and the kid dies. Florida is right up there amongst probably the state in the country that prosecutes more for mistakes than crimes. It's a sad situation. So what is the World Health Organization doing about this?
The World Health Organization has called for immediate and concerted action to protect children from contaminated medicines after a spate of child deaths linked to cough syrup.
People just go into CVS, Walgreens, or whatever, Duane Reade, and they pick up the trusted brands that they use to give to their children, kids, and themselves. And unless this WHO taped event is put out on the nightly news, you got to assume that everybody's watching it to be informed. How would an average grandmother who doesn't care about the news, how do they discern whether or not a cough medicine is safe or not? They go by the labels, right? We trust the pharmaceutical companies here in America, and that is one big mistake.
More than 300 children, mostly younger than 5, in Gambia, Indonesia, and Uzbekistan died of acute kidney injury. These deaths were linked to contaminated medicines.
You would think that these pharmaceutical companies would be held responsible, not grandparents and parents, for giving medicine to a child and not knowing the consequences. It's about time we start holding these pharmaceutical companies responsible because of their dangerous and corrupt policies.
The WHO said these over-the-counter cough syrups had high levels of chemicals that the WHO said, quote, can be fatal even taken in small amounts and should never be found in medicines.
Preaching to the choir. I mean, pharmaceutical companies are out to make money, right? If these ingredients are never supposed to be in these cold medicines, why is that on a parent or a grandparent? How would they know? Here in America, we have the Food and Drug Administration. What would they have to say about something like this?
The Food and Drug Administration is warning about potential child poisonings from a popular cough medicine. The FDA tonight releasing a study showing an increase in pediatric poisonings involving a prescription drug, benzenate. Signs of poisoning can include seizures, a slowed heart rate, or major changes in their breathing. Young children under 5 may be at risk from unintentional exposure to the drug, and parents should be aware of the drug's potentially dangerous side effects.
Thing to say that parents should be aware of this horrible thing unfolding globally with cold medicine and children dying. It's not just an issue over in Europe or Africa or, South America. It's an issue happening everywhere. If you don't watch the news, if you don't watch television, and you're a grandma, okay, and you're taking care of your grandson, and he has a cold, how would you know not to buy cold or flu medicines for the child, especially if it says for children ages 6 to 11, like a lot of them do say? You would assume, rightfully so, in my opinion, that they're safe. Would you not? Exactly is anaphylaxis. If you didn't know what it was, there would be no way for you to discover that anaphylaxis, which is basically a shock, and you can get a shock from eating, things that you're allergic to or medications, causes shock. And we're seeing that a lot in children who take these cold medicines. But you wouldn't know that unless you're a researcher. I just think it's remiss to blame parents and grandparents when it's really the pharmaceutical companies who should be arrested and charged with manslaughter. What do you guys think about that?
Anaphylaxis is a severe reaction that commonly, unfortunately, far too commonly, occurs when individuals who are sensitized to a food, particularly, are exposed to that food. It can happen from other exposures, including venom and drugs. There are a number of things that can trigger these severe allergic reactions that are potentially life-threatening. Typical pattern of anaphylaxis, what happens is you'll suddenly get itchy, you often develop hives, classically again around the head and neck. You may start to have swelling of the lips. When you get swelling of the tongue or of the vocal cords leading into the airways, you really have difficulty breathing. You can get spasm of the airways, which worsens difficulty breathing. You can have stomach cramps and nausea. There's a whole range of symptoms.
A whole range of symptoms. Average man, average woman is not going to know what that range of symptoms is unless it's on Facebook. But it's just as likely that the community at whole would not know about this very dangerous cold medicine death trap. And that's sad, that children can take and that are safe. Please share this list of the top 5 cold or flu medicines with your friends and family so that everyone can get up to speed and be on the lookout for these things that kill our kids. Well, that's it for today. I want to thank you, as always, watching the video to the end. That drives me absolutely batshit in a happy kind of way, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Have a good evening. I'm RJ Smith, and this has been Crazy News.